Life is a wonderful learning experience and journey that fosters illumination, insight, and moments of reflection. Experiences on the journey are not always pleasant, yet they may be the sources of tenacity, strength, and understanding. Members of the bleeding disorders community are graciously sharing their unique experiences with you today. It is our hope that you find this video uplifting, encouraging, and inspiring.
My name is Jacqueline Rodriguez. I have two sons that were born with severe A hemophilia. One is Justin Ray, he's 6, and the other is Jace, and he's 2. I also have two brothers that were born with hemophilia as well, so I've been around it for a long time, which was great when planning for families. Having two children with hemophilia definitely impacts what they're able to do on a daily basis. I know that as parents, my husband and I really try to allow them to do whatever their peers are doing, whether it's playing on the playground, running after school in the schoolyard. I have my older son play soccer on a team. So we really try to just make sure that we're proactive with their disorder. We infuse anytime there's going to be high levels of activity, making sure that medication is there to protect them. And we also just try to do modifications just to make sure that whatever they're doing is safe enough for them so that they can have fun and not worry about any issues later on. Being a parent of children with hemophilia definitely has put me on edge somewhat. I feel like I'm constantly worried, but that's probably all parents if I really ask around. I think that if anything, it has allowed myself and my husband to really become strong advocates for our kids. We have dealt with hospital staff and emergency situations where we feel like we know what's best for them and we want to work with hospital staff as a team versus against them. So I think that I've probably found my voice more than anything while taking care of my children. My mother has two sons with hemophilia, my brothers, and growing up with them, I saw my mom go through a lot of different situations, whether it was emergency room visits or just doctor visits. And I feel like she spent a lot of time in the hospitals. There were a lot of moments where she had to be admitted just to make sure that the boys had the correct treatment. There was a lot of timing where she couldn't do it at home. Since then, treatment has come so far and there have been so many medical advances with hemophilia specifically that I'm so grateful I'm able to treat my boys at home the majority of the time. It allows them to really be calm and comfortable in our own home environment, and it's sort of just a part of a normal routine where they don't have to feel on edge about their disorder. Working with Wellpha has been excellent so far. They've done little things that are able to make my daily routines that much easier. One example is while using my son's ports, we have a lot of supplies that are required, and Wellpha actually packages all of the supplies into one little bag for me. So when it's time to do their medicine, I can easily grab the supplies, grab the medication, and get it going. I think that when infusing my boys, there's a lot of thought behind it to make sure that it's done correctly, and removing those small steps means a lot to me.
My name is Madeline Santiago and I'm Factor V deficiency.
My name is Melinda DiGiovanni and I'm a symptomatic carrier. My son is severe B and my daughter has mild hemophilia.
My hemophilia from when I was young to now, I used to use FFP when I was little, and it changed just a little bit. Then now I use FIBA, which is factor 8. But when I bleed a lot, I still have to go to the emergency room and get my FFP.
Well, my son's hemophilia care has changed a lot since he was young up to now. He's 19 now. So back when he was 1, that's when we started to infuse and we were using Benefix. And so he went through a lot of difficult times up until he started taking a different factor. My daughter's care changed from when she was younger. What happened is she was getting bruises and everything throughout her life, and she would complain and have pain. But the doctors didn't want to diagnose her. And I kept pushing, and they just didn't want to diagnose her. And I just kept thinking, what's going on? Like, this is nuts. Why wouldn't they want to diagnose her? And it got to the point where, I just kept trying and trying. As soon as she, got her monthly, we were watching her more often and see how she was doing. And that's when I decided to bring her back to the hematologist. And I was fighting more because she was bleeding a lot. Her bleeding episodes were really bad. And she was bruising more. So I fought and I fought and I fought, and they finally diagnosed her with mild hemophilia B. And I'm happy about that because now she has her factor, and now she's gonna have the care that she needs to live a better quality of life. I know that my period, it's really, really heavy, and I have constant pain and cramps, and I don't know how you get, but...
When I used to get mine, because they did a hysterectomy, because I used to bleed so much that if I stopped bleeding in the morning, at night, I was in the emergency room getting a blood transfusion.
You got a blood transfusion?
Every month. Every month, because I used to bleed so heavy.
Wow.
I used to use diapers.
Wow.
So because it was so heavy, and after that they decided to do the hysterectomy, because I used to be 3 weeks in the hospital and 1 week in my house.
Wow, that's a lot. You went through a lot. Yeah.
And I almost died at one point because I bleed so much, so they have to give me blood transfusions, and the same way that they put it used to come out like water, so they decided that I needed a hysterectomy.
Wow, that's I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's a really difficult time for you. I'm sure a lot of women have to deal with this, and it's just not right how they're going about it. We're not getting the real care that we should get as women. It's not fair for us. We're dealing with all this, a lot of pain. Our periods are so heavy, and we're in pain.
Sometimes because you don't look sick, they don't think you're sick. Like you look healthy, but that doesn't mean we're healthy. Me being a factor V deficiency, I get very upset. I'm not too happy because they don't have medicine for factor V deficiency. Like I use FIBA, which is factor A. So, and when I go to places to find out more information about factor V, they never give me good news because they don't have nothing for factor V.
Yeah.
So that can be very, I can say, angry and
frustrated.
And yes, because it's like I'm 40 years old. I have hemophilia since I was 9 months when I started bleeding from my gums, and since then I only use, like I said, FFP, platelets, and now the FIBA, which is factor 8. But they don't have nothing like for us with factor V, and that's very frustrating. I would say.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I know when sometimes, but you're unique. You have to feel special. No, I don't want to feel unique. I don't want to feel special. I want some type of medicine for factor V. Now then, every time I go to different places, factor V, but that's unique. You should feel special. I don't want to feel special. I want them to say, listen, we have something for you. We have medicine for women with factor V deficiency, and that would make me feel like better and maybe feel special because they find out something for us.
Us as women, we really need to fight and advocate for the community.
When I want to go to the emergency room, it's like they have to call all my doctors to believe, how do you know you have a bleeding disorder? Because I've been having this for 40 years old, and the pain is horrible, but sometimes they see you crying, screaming because you're in pain, and it's like they don't believe you because they don't see you, I don't know, maybe on the floor bleeding or something, but then it's like they don't believe that you have hemophilia because you don't look sick.
As a mom with a daughter that has hemophilia, I will fight to the end of the world just to make sure that she has what she needs to live a better quality of life. There's nothing I won't do. I'm like big mama bear, okay? And I will fight to get what she needs. The right medication, I'm still gonna fight for her. as much as I can, because her living in her condition, it's hard as a mom, watching your child, you know, really be hurt and suffering. It's
not
really
easy to
hard.
live like that with pain. When you're in pain, most of the time I'm in pain 24/7. I'm sure, but I'm in pain 24/7. I want to thank Wellpha and Janet Talbot for helping me. She's been there for me. She known me since I was 16 when I was in the hospital, very sick, and she was there for me. And from that day to now, she's been very helpful and she listens and cares for me.
Hey Madeline, I see that you have some tattoos on you. How did that affect you when you went to the tattoo?
I'm not supposed to get tattoos, but I infused before and I infused after because I bleed. Plus, I won't tell them that I have hemophilia because I know they will do it, and that made me feel like a little normal if I don't have to tell them I have hemophilia. I was nervous, not afraid, but I have only 16.
So did you bleed a lot when you?
Some of them. For example, this one I was a little scared because it turned like a big bruise, but that didn't stop me. It didn't stop me.
So
I've been through worse. I've been through intensive care. I was in coma twice, so a tattoo is like nothing scares me basically. I think
You're strong. You're really strong. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a strong person. Even when I'm in intensive care, the doctors go, Madeline, how you feeling? I'm in pain, like crying, everything, but they ask me, how you feeling? I'm like, fine. But I'm not fine, but I feel if I say fine, nothing gets worse.
I am so glad that we had this chance to get together and talk about the women's bleeding disorder community, because we really need us to stick together. And it was really nice hearing all your stories, and we're definitely going to advocate more. And
same thing, I'm glad that I get to meet you, and so from now on maybe we can get each other and help everybody. I'll help all the women with bleeding disorder.
I'm Xavier and I'm 13.
Hey, I'm Elias, I'm 18.
I'm Luke, I'm 12.
If there's one thing I could say about hemophilia that honestly everyone that with hemophilia could agree with would be being able to participate and just be in contact sport or just any type of physical activity. That does affect me personally. It affected me a lot as a kid growing up. Couldn't do a lot of things because of that. But I don't take away from hemophilia. Hemophilia also blessed me with meeting a lot of good people in my life. It brought me to an organization, Wellpha. I met beautiful people there. Hemophilia in itself is it's a condition that's hard to deal with, but it also could be a blessing. Everything has its good and bads, and hemophilia is one of those.
And sometimes hemophilia affects me in a negative way because like I'm not allowed to do other sports, and when I wake up sometimes my knees start hurting and I can see my factor, but like it just really hurts sometimes. The factor helps because it stops the bleeding and it stops the pain.
Sometimes I feel like hemophilia affects me in a negative way because I would go to school and watch other kids go to gym and sit back and wonder why like I can't play, and I'm not really allowed to do physical sports in school. I want to play gym like any other kid, and I want to be included in like these team sports and all these like school activities that sometimes I'm not even allowed to go to. My factor helps me to live somewhat of a normal life.
The people at Wellpha help us a lot, packaging our stuff, being helpful to us, just overall, just the whole company itself and the people that work in it just overall helped us so much that really not even words could say. So, yeah.
Our rep Jeanette from Wellpha helps us get our factors and get to and from the doctor's appointment.
Jeanette's helped us so much that, like I said, not even words could say. Jeanette and the Wellpha team, the whole company, but as Jeanette as a representative to me, she's been great in many ways, helping me with just figuring out how to factors, getting me more into organizations and events, and a lot more.
Bobby Weissman. I have Hemophilia B, severe. To be 50 and soon to be 51 come June, living with Hemophilia B, that's me. When I was circumcised, my mother knew something was automatically wrong at the exact moment of circumcision. I bled for 3 days. Living in San Francisco, so I did blood driving community. So for roughly 6 months to almost to the age of 2, that's how I treated my hemophilia. Then factor concentrates became available. There were many visits to the emergency room. When I treat now in 2022, it's a 5 cc syringe. Back then, it was 2 to 4 60 cc syringes. As life came on up, factor concentrates more and more, went on to on-demand treatment. So when there was a bleed, then I had to treat. Yet, some of the times I was hesitant on it because I'd rather deal with the pain of that bleed going on versus the quick pain of the needle going in. Then prophylaxis came on, and so I went on to every other day. Then was fortunate enough to go to every 7 to 10 days with one of the products, to where now my factor levels are teetering a little bit above 50% to 65. How I treat my hemophilia has changed and how I view it. That prior to gene therapy, prior to every 7 to 10 days, then the question became, what do I do next? What do I do if my insurance is not going to do particular things? And then with the onset of gene therapy, so much more came into the head. Yes, I had already dealt with the co-infection issues of both HIV and Hep C. And now the paradigm of something new and being a guinea pig. And the decision was a family decision. And the basic thing my mother said, do that which is just, right, and honest. That so much had been poured into me as a kid through the local chapter organization, Northern Cal, the summer camp program, the treatment center. And I had a decision to make when going on gene therapy. But at the end of the day, it would be helping those coming up behind me. The tubes of blood and pieces of paper I filled out will help those who are yet to be born have access to something that is life-changing. So my journey with Hemophilia B has been a roller coaster. Someone once asked me, when I was actually a resident in the emergency room, said, would your life be different without it? And would you want to give it up? At that time, I said, probably my life would be different because my scope and my context would be different. But because of this disorder, I've been able to bring order to my life. I've been able to speak my own truth as it is and not be ashamed of it. In the bleeding disorders community, some parts of care are left out because it's hard to deal with, both from a clinical standpoint and person-to-person standpoint. Bringing those tough questions to the surface. Why is it that our women with bleeding disorders, don't have access to a trial? Why is it that our women are not validated and appreciated and honored for their true bleeding? There's no place for the mothers really to talk about their stuff. There's nothing really that honors nor supports that. We've progressed to a point now, I think, in the bleeding disorders community where we have so much available to us, treatment-wise, that is much better than it was. For me, care is one thing. For my nephew, who's 27, 28, something else. For families coming up, care is uniquely different for them as well. And my hope of hopes that we can get to a point of no longer having to have national meetings talking about what's on the horizon. Yet those meetings, by its natural evolution, go away because we're living fully. This lovely mask right here, my mama made me a set of travel masks about a year ago. And that's part of my journey because it's not just me in the journey. Because my mama did the journey first. When I had bleeding episodes, my mama was right there. Even though I learned how to self-infuse at camp, when I would come home from school, if I knew it was a bleed, I'd call my mama at work. And she said, okay, go ahead and mix it. I'll call you when I'm leaving work. Even though I knew how to infuse, she said, no, she'll do it when she got home, or just watch me to make sure everything was good. I would mix it, and she'd go into this right vein here. And if my mama couldn't get the needle in on by the second time, then she called my grandfather, who lived across town, and take me to the emergency room. When I was 12, I was informed of my HIV status from my pediatrician. When I was 15, it finally clicked that, oh, you have HIV. Because it was put in the newspaper in San Francisco, GRID, gay-related infectious disease, or whatever it was, and they changed it to the name of AIDS, da-da-da. And so the hematologist said we need to talk to all the families before it hits the news. Yes, community that I grew up in knew I had hemophilia. That it was a known. But then once that hit, we didn't say anything else because things were going on. There were community members across the nation whose houses were being burned and didn't want the fellow blood brothers and sisters to go to school. Then when I was 16, I was at home. I went to go use the bathroom. And from my lower regions, I filled the commode with blood. I called my mama because she was in the kitchen cooking dinner and let her know what happened. And then again, it happened. Don't know how we got across town to the emergency room. I remember they put a line in or two. Went to the bathroom again. I remember coming out of the bathroom, and then I woke up 45 days later. I had massive GI bleeding. I missed school for almost a total of 60 days. Then I finished all the homework that was due, because Mama made sure of that. That I got all the homework, and graduated with a 3.58 GPA. When I went to college, it was about a 2-hour drive away from San Francisco. I had to inform the medical folks there of the hemophilia piece, and so accommodations were made so I could have my own dorm room to keep my factor. There was an incident that happened. I was 18, was walking to the store with some of the folks from the dorm, and someone in a truck yelled the choice term to me that begins with the letter N. And a couple things occurred after that. Needless to say, I was in the emergency room. So my Hemophilia B journey has been one that's taught me the value of love, being open, and being able to continue doing. Because I could have easily given up. I could have easily. Yes, there were some moments of depression, but I'm still here. I've kept my faith, and I've kept my mind and my heart. That is my hemophilia journey. And I'm good, godly certain of several things of what the work is I still have to do in my purpose. Is to speak my own truth. It may not be someone else's, but it's mine. The bleeding disorders community has been through many trials and tribulations. So have other chronic disease states where there's an outside understanding versus an inside understanding. An inside understanding are those individuals who deal with that particular medical diagnosis with and for their family. And providers such as Wellpha are working with the families to do which is best for them. What is the need of your family? What is the need of the person? And working from a person-centered standpoint. That person-to-person connection is pivotal and key to overall community growth. What I would have to say to the younger individuals with bleeding disorders, hemophilia, do you. Do what makes you happy. That does not mean you need to be active in your local organization. That does not mean you need to wear your bleeding disorders, hemophilia badge on your chest, shoulder, purse, whatever. Live your life. You have opportunity. Seize your own opportunity. And if you don't know how, when, where, ask someone a question. There is strength in vulnerability. There is strength in openness.
We at Wellpha want to give our appreciation to all who are a part of this project. On every journey, it is important to see not only where you are going, but to see how far you've come. Both views enable the community to keep growing. Continue to drive a path regardless of the bumps in the road. Continue on your journey.